Okay, so I want to talk at this point about, restaurant choice and where do you do these things. I would try to find, we can do it at any local restaurant, but I mean, we try to find a kind of a nice place. I mean, you don't have to be at the nicest steakhouse in town, although you can. I don't think people really expect you to do that. So, but don't go to McDonald's either. I mean, it needs to be somewhere that's halfway decent where you can serve a halfway healthy meal. And as far as like cost of doing that, I think $15 to $20 a plate is probably about where you're going to end up on that. Sometimes more. I mean, I know, it could be 24, 25 if you're at a nicer place. And it depends on the city you live in. I mean, if you're in downtown Chicago, you're probably going to be really lucky if you get it to 30. So it just depends on where you are and how many dinners you're going to do. And the restaurant will work with you a little bit. Second thing that I think is really crucially important, though, is the restaurant absolutely must have a closed area where you can do the talk. You cannot be in an open area where the rest of the restaurant is interfering with the talk. You will have a total disaster, nightmare, and waste a lot of money. So I know the restaurant that we had doors that could close, and we were in our own separate little area, and nobody else was interfering with us. Very important. So it doesn't matter what restaurant it is, really, but it has to have that. And if it doesn't have that, you got to find a new place. It won't work. So unless they're going to give you the whole restaurant for the night, which they're probably not going to. So those are crucial things. As far as like the dinner flow and stuff, how do you do that? Do they eat first? They eat second? I think absolutely with this kind of talk, they eat second. So they come in, you do your talk. Your talk cannot be longer than 15, 20 minutes, probably 20 minutes, 25 max. And then food needs to come out after that. What'll happen at the restaurant if you don't give them clear instructions on this is they will be walking around filling up people's water glasses, because that's what they usually do. Absolute killer for your talk. You'll have people in the talk asking for drinks, waving down the waitresses. It is so distracting and it'll ruin your whole talk. So there can't be any distractions. So I had to sit down with the staff after we had our first one because we screwed it all up the first time, but I could see where it was messed up. So we sat down with the staff, and I had the same people every time we were there. They knew me by name and I knew them by name. And we would sit down and I'd say, okay guys, I want you to get, drinks and stuff out for people before we start. Once I start talking, the doors get closed and no one comes in here at all. And if someone did come in, our staff would grab them and push them out the door again, because as soon as someone comes in, you're in trouble. And when you lose people once or twice like that in your talk, it destroys the whole thing. So, but in any case, once I was in my talk and I got done, and the talk can be anything you want, but I described how I did a talk in the Lunch and Learn video in that program, and it'd be really the same thing. You're gonna have an introduction, kind of get them tracking with you, ask them some questions, get them laughing a little bit, go through some personal stories or some testimonial stories, and then explain like why chiropractic works, like why can you help things other than back pain, like allergies and asthma, and I had heart problems, like why is it that chiropractic helps things like that? And then there has to be a good close. And at the end of the close for our dinner talk, I usually always had two staff people there with me. And the staff people were there before me, checking people in and getting their table stuff set up and giving them some papers to fill out, because we had them fill out just a little bit of paperwork things at their table. And this is a critical thing too inside the dinner. Actually, I'm going to save it for the next video because I think it's such a important thing to talk about. I'm going to put it in the next video, but it's collecting leads at the dinner. So we'll talk about that one in just a second. But that's kind of the overall flow. And then once I was done talking, they would bring the food out. And if there was dessert, they'd bring dessert out. And, then it was just kind of loud and crazy. And, we mingled around at the tables and helped more there at that point to answer little questions and things. I didn't take questions in the talk. I didn't get to the end and say, does anybody have any questions? Because once that starts, it never stops. And then people are starving and they're getting mad. So I didn't take questions. I told everyone, I'm going to come around to each table. You can ask me questions. And I did that. I just would kind of sit down at each of the groups of tables and hang out with them for a little bit and let them get to know me a little bit more. And I think that really, really helped us to schedule a lot more people in the talk. So in any case, in the next video, we're going to talk about, generating some more leads from the dinner. So I'll see you in that video.